So this is another, I had a discussion with Dr. David Buss about this very concept, because there is no selection pressure. Even when selection pressure only happens before reproduction. So if I do something like, for instance, I live in the Pleistocene epoch, and I have no fear of heights. So I jump off a cliff. I don't have children. So the fear of heights proclivity gets weeded out of the genetics. Right now, I could have all kinds of insane proclivities and be a beautiful woman, and I'm going to breed with someone, right? If you look at Marilyn Monroe, her mother and her grandmother, they all had the same psychological disorder because they were beautiful enough to where it's like, I'm still going to breed this with this woman. I don't care. And because there's no selection pressure, now you have people like, and there's a great example of this, and it's a good thing, was even the state with Stephen Hawking. He had motor neuron disorder and had multiple children before he developed that. So even though there were genetic deficiencies, he was still able to have children. Because there's no selection pressure against things that would have killed us in our ancestral environment, that's the reason why, like you said, there's no evolution. Like, why would there be? There's 400,000 elephants on the planet and 8 billion humans. We won. So in that case, and I read somewhere like 90% of large land animals now are pigs, chickens, horses, sheep, goat. Like, we have obliterated bovine, like we're talking about caribou, water buffalo, rhinoceros. As far as the biomass is concerned, the vast majority of it now is domesticated human animals. And so when you come to that realization, I mean, it's a very different. A lot of the struggle has gone away, which is probably part of the reason for the depression. But these endocrine things that you're saying are also like huge disruptors. And I imagine you're going to get to this. The testosterone levels dropping over the last 200 years.
I mean, you talk about fertility. Anyone listening, go Google this. Go Google male fertility. I think it's 2045. Zero. Yeah, we used to have, there was a 1% annual drop in male fertility.
Wow.
And that projection for 1% takes us to zero fertility by 2045. It's now at 2.8%.
Wow.
So 2045 is actually a stretch. It's probably going to happen earlier. And so a lot of what we're seeing, so the challenge with male versus a female is that women are born with their eggs.
I'm a little confused. Like, asymptotically, it'll get closer and closer to zero, but it can't actually get to zero.
Depends who's overseeing why we're getting to zero. And that's a whole other conversation.
So it would be some sort of external stimulus that legitimately like sterilized every man. So that's what you would need.
I know this. There's people far beyond my sort of roles and responsibility to know this. So why isn't it being stopped? You have farms in Europe that are already being built for human breeding. Right?
Oh, wow.
They're live. They exist. There's not future. They work. Right? So and you also have, again, whole other conversation, but this gender confusion, right? Why is that happening? So gender confusion, no more family, no more religion, and breeding, right? You now own the population as opposed to work for it. So again, different conversation, but that's my view.
We can have that conversation. I haven't heard you have this conversation, and this is the kind of stuff we talk about here a lot.
But that's where things are going, because why did it go from 1% to 2.8? And the things, we know what's causing it. There's no secret. We know what's causing, all the hormone disruption is causing it, and nothing is being stopped.
Can you be specific for someone who's watching this, the hormone disruption that they, like, I'm drinking out of metal now instead of what I was doing before. You mentioned before about the sauna and the steam room. I do the steam room every day. I'm drinking a gallon of water. I'm trying to, whatever processes or whatever things are in my body fat, I want to get them out as quickly as possible. Can you talk about some of the things like somebody can do today legitimately that would be able to help themselves?
So basic hormone disruption, personal care products. The average woman puts 500 chemicals a day on her body between her cosmetics, soap, shampoo, etc. It's personal care products. Purge them. Go to the environmental working group, a non-for-profit website. Just learn what is killing you in your home, right? Purge it, replace it. There's plenty. The good news is there's so many clean brands now. Just keep up with who's buying those brands, because they change as they get bought. But whoever's clean, organic boutique, do that. Second is, what is your food being contained in? The packaging, the plastics, where is it as close to farm to fork as possible versus microwaved in plastic, fried in Teflon, etc. I would say the frying pan is one of the major threats to women that is misunderstood, and to men. The Teflon that's on there, major hormone disruption, and as you scratch it, you start to leach millions, literally millions of plastic nanoparticles into your food. Microwaving your plastic containers, I think 1 square inch of plastic will give you like 14 million nanoparticles of plastic into your food. It's just ridiculous numbers, right? Our water supply, which now 30% of American water has forever chemicals in it. You have all this, fire retardants and all these things that go down into the drain that are forever chemicals.
Yeah, again, these are molecules
that don't break down.
That don't break down, and that you can't like sift them through or pour iodine in the water like you can. When I was in the military, we would take creek water, we put iodine in it, get the dirt out, and we drink it, right? Because it would kill the bacteria. But these are other things that you can't get rid of.
You have to filter. There's no other choice, right?
Yeah.
So there's this, there's a military base in North Carolina that had this elevated number of Parkinson cases from the veterans. And they're saying some anomaly. No, let's look into it. So when they did look into it, they couldn't find a genetic cause. And that they wanted to find a genetic cause because we need to make sure that Parkinson stays as a disease that needs treatment, right? That's what pharma wants. But the truth is the vast majority of these neurodegenerative diseases are not innate, they are caused. And so they did find this chemical called TCE in the water there, and they didn't find it in the other bases that they were comparing to. So simple neurodegeneration. There's a chemical called paraquat. If you go buy a bean, a lentil, a chickpea, some kind of vegan protein, these paraquat chemicals sprayed to kill all the other greenery around so that there's better soil and nutrients for that plant that they're trying to grow. And right now there's a lawsuit where there's 13,000 farmers who were given safety training on the use of this chemical. It's so dangerous that they have to be trained before they can use it. And even then have Parkinson's. So there's a class action lawsuit against Chevron, who's the distributor right now. 13,000 farmers, not 13 of, right? Huge numbers. And so like everyone that got exposed. So anyways, if you look at the American system, 144,000 chemicals have been added since the 1970s.
Yeah. Wow.
Food, personal care products, environmental, all of it, right?
Because storage and preservation saves money. But those same chemicals can, they're evolutionary mismatches for our biology. They're mismatches.
Yeah, our body doesn't know what to do with them, right? So, and when you talk about food, it's vast majority shelf life. That's a big consideration. Flavor enhancement for addiction. And cost. That's it. This is why an American product has an ingredient list like this, versus in Europe it's a fraction, right? So just knowing that, and I would say EWG is a good resource, but how did your ancestors live? Not like this, right? It's not rocket science, so peel it back, go back, and don't assume that the 18,000 people that work at the FDA do anything for you. Right? The bosses, not the people on the ground, but the people that they report to are all from pharma. There's no secret that pharma executives go to FDA and FDA executives go to pharma, right? So the regulatory body that's supposed to regulate an industry, the people that work for that industry work in that regulatory body. How is that going to work out?
Yeah.